Well, good Tuesday morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for.
Oh, it was a busy opening day of the NFL, which
No
has not
kidding.
really been really the first day, but it is actually the first day. But hey,
$3 billion spent by NFL teams yesterday.
that's why it
My
is
God.
king. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about all sorts of headlines across the NBA, baseball, a little bit of everything. Plus, we got to talk wrestling, man.
Of
After
course.
Monday Night Raw, 24 KG is out at Disneyland. I got the pictures. He is enjoying himself at the happiest place in the world.
That's why I'm not going to even plan on having him today. I know he's going to try for us. I appreciate him for doing that. But let's be honest, you're at Disneyland, brother. Go enjoy yourself.
And we'll talk some Condors with our guy, Ryan
Yes.
Holt, as we'll be out tomorrow.
Yes.
As my teenager attempts to get his driver's license.
Is he excited? He's excited.
He is. He is
Yeah.
pumped.
See, that was for me. I don't know. There's a generational gap here. I don't know if you guys have noticed this as well. Millennials, we were like everybody else, couldn't wait to get our license, couldn't wait to be able to get out of the house and not be stuck there all the time, although you became mom's errand boy, but you still got freedom.
Yep.
This next generation didn't want that.
I got to go through my own drive-through. I'd order my own food.
Exactly. You get all of that. You feel like an adult until, somebody is an idiot and hits you for the first time. And it's the scariest moment of your life.
Which we can get into that because that happened to my wife last night. And you can call or text in anytime at 661-842-2000.
Y'all are having some of the worst luck with cars, my friend. I'm
sorry. She went to Jamba to get a little juice for lunch yesterday. Came out, somebody banged into her car and
didn't even leave a note, did they?
They did leave a note, so that was the nice thing.
Okay, here's the thing, though.
I told her, "Do
you ain't leaving a legit note."
Exactly.
Stop it. If you're a legit person, you will sit there and wait for that person, whoever owns that car.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave a note, I'm just assuming that's you writing down. I'm just writing on this piece of paper.
Is my ex-wife's info.
So nobody thinks I just hit you and ran.
So we'll see.
I
check it tomorrow. She's got an appointment with the insurance, so we'll see.
God, that sucks, man. I am so sorry. And this is the car that you had taken up to Vegas, I'm assuming. Dang, man.
That's where just get rid of it, dude.
It's bad juju at this point. You guys, Danhausen put a curse on it. That's what it is.
Exactly.
And WWE has taught us that Danhausen's curses are 1,000% real. They are all real. I cannot wait to see what they do with this guy. And we're going to talk a lot of wrestling today because, personally, in my opinion, after watching yesterday, not only do we finally get to see Finn Balor have his singles, time in the sun and actually maybe win a championship again for the first time in God knows how long, but I'm assuming CM Punk is just going after the entire Anoa'i family after that promo yesterday. I think there was some real animosity between the Usos and Punk. I told you guys last week how serious the Samoan bloodline takes family. I don't think that was just another promo. I'm genuinely believing that the family did not take well to CM Punk telling Roman that he will bury him right next to Afa. That is absolutely just ridiculous to say. But at the same time, it's wrestling. And like I've seen a lot of talking heads say, you really think CM Punk didn't pass that by WWE Creative? And to be honest,
I would expect he did.
I mean, I would expect that he did as well.
I mean, he's the champ.
He did.
Yeah. I think, just from last night, how they made it the closing, they've got their hands in it somehow, some way. But yeah, I don't know if Us is just a really good actor or just pumped up full of energy or what. But
I think it's a little bit of both. But this could just be the resurgence of the actual bloodline again, which for the WWE would be a cash cow because obviously we all know how big that storyline was. But at the same time, bad news for everybody else because when the bloodline's together, that means nobody else gets any championships at all, period. It all goes to the Anoa'i family. So is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing for wrestling? We'll get into that at the 8 o'clock hour, but we got to talk about a lot of football news because my God, the teams spend yesterday, including your Las Vegas Raiders. who picked up a good amount of players yesterday that are going to make a difference next year. Is it going to be the difference that you're hoping for? Sorry, no, it's not. Lindenbaum will. Lindenbaum is probably the biggest signing of the day to me yesterday. A $28 million contract a year for the center. Completely rewrote the entire just demographic of how much these guys are going to be paid as an interior lineman. And with an incoming rookie quarterback, from what we all understand and assume, with Fernando Mendoza potentially being the number 1 overall pick, having a center like Lindenbaum there is going to help a lot. It's also going to help open up some run lanes for guys like Ashton Genty to actually, I don't know, find open field and maybe get a big touchdown for the team. But again, like I said yesterday, I don't know if anybody you're going to sign, whether it's Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, Raygor, doesn't matter. Nobody is going to be able to fill the hole that you just put in your own chest that was named Max Crosby. I'm going to stand on that hill. As much as I would like to say that Raiders, this is the first step towards what you're all hoping, the Chicago Bears style turnaround. I would love to be able to say that. I don't see it yet. I really don't. You need more pieces. We need guards. We need tackles. I mean, that entire offensive line needs revamping outside of maybe a left tackle, from what I'm understanding from some of the fan base. They like the left tackle, but everybody else needs a new face. And putting, what was it, Sparky? About $100 million out there yesterday from the Raiders.
At least.
And one lineman picked up from it. Meh. Don't get me wrong, I like the Quay Walker signing. I like the Nakobe Dean signing.
I like was it Quiddy?
Yeah, I like it. I like the fact that you guys are being active and obviously showing you want to make this turnaround happen. But linebacker wasn't exactly your problem. Wide receiver, yeah, it kind of was. I won't lie on that one. You guys didn't really have a wide receiver after you traded away Jacoby. But I don't think one wide receiver coming in is going to be fixing that at all. At this point right now, I like the idea of them moving around pieces and picking guys up that they need. Personally, instead of Jalen Rager, you probably should have put that money towards Mike Evans. Personally, especially since the Niners swiped him up for $20 million a year. Pretty sure you could have convinced him. I mean, his former teammate and former quarterback just so happens to be your owner. So, shocked that Mike Evans wasn't headed for Las Vegas, if I'm being honest. But some of the big moves being made were by the Raiders. How do you feel about this? Do you think that they made enough of a splash in day one to really turn some heads?
Turn heads, probably not. I like what they're doing. I mean, it's the first day, and they've got plenty of holes to fill. But I mean, probably the biggest one was the center. Obviously, they still need at least one guard and one tackle. But I mean, that's going to be a tough division. And I mean, not only that, which was, I really like their running back. I know the rookie year wasn't the best to start off with, but you dug the hole where he had to. So I mean, yeah. I think they're not done. No. I think they'll probably be pretty busy today and tomorrow, and I would expect there's still some big names out there in free agency, which I would expect them to get picked up. But I've also read this morning that they're in the midst of talking with Trey Hendrickson. So I mean, maybe that's a big name that they could bring over. I believe right now is what Schefter said. They're in a bidding war with the Patriots. So I mean,
surprise.
If Hendrickson has anything to do with it, I'm sure, unless it's a big payout, a big paycheck, I think he's probably going to New England.
I would think the same. And honestly, the thought of Trey Hendrickson going to the Raiders, although yes, that fills the spot that Max Crosby obviously left, I should say. I don't know. It's kind of the same thing as what we were talking about when there was the entire rumor that Max might get traded to the Dallas Cowboys. If you were going to put a guy like this in that spot, why not just convince the one guy you had to stick around?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Love Trey Hendrickson. He's obviously a sack king, but is he going to make the same plays that Max Crosby made? Probably not. Is he going to be the same vocal leader that Max was? No. I'm just going to come out and say it. No way. It's not. You don't just replace a guy like that. So again, I like the idea, but being in a bidding war against a team that was just in the Super Bowl does not bode well for the Las Vegas Raiders unless you're willing to overpay this guy, which somebody might be. You never know. We got a text message. What we got?
Yeah, the first one says, "What do you guys think about the whole Tua from Miami to Atlanta?" I personally, I'll start it. I mean, obviously, we had our history with Tua. There was some good times, there was some bad times, but I mean, it started rough. You know, with Flores and him not being on the same page, Flores and management not being on the same page with their quarterback selection. I personally think that it's a perfect fit for Atlanta. They get a free rental for the vet minimum. I mean, if you can get a guy like Tua to a backup position for under $2 million, not only that, but he's a lefty, which also I know it doesn't sound like it would be something, but it definitely helps during camp, during practice when you're dealing with a lefty.
Yeah,
and with Penix, you know, recovering from an injury, I think he'll fit in nicely. It's just I'll just say, as a Tua fan, once he gets into his head, you know, he can be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But as soon as he gets himself in his head, he starts seeing things. That's when you have a problem with Tua.
See, I can appreciate that you find some positive in the Tua game. I really can. Personally, as a Falcons fan, the only good thing about this is that it comes at a price that we could pay, and it's a 1-year contract. I keep hearing everybody say, "Oh, he's a lefty. He's a lefty." It's not baseball. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, it helps when it comes with your tackles.
No, I get that.
And
but
your
again,
receivers.
Our strong tackle, though, isn't the right tackle. It's the left one.
That's going to be the problem.
And also, the only thing that I see a positive of him being a lefty is the fact that because Michael Penix is injured, and they're pretty much the same player, let's be honest, injury-prone left-handed player that God only knows if they could even see the field for the entirety of the season. It's going to be positive only because wide receivers and everybody can get used to being thrown a left-handed ball.
Yep.
That's the only positive I could see in this. I said this on the Greg Kerr show yesterday when he pulled me on as well. Look, you guys have heard me say it on this show. I have a lot of faith in Michael. I really do. I think Michael Penix could be a guy if we could figure out the knee situation. Because again, having your starting quarterback not being able to go under center is a problem. But I'm also seeing this as a Triple H kind of a thing, long-term storytelling. If we suck next year, we're tanking for Archie, baby. We're tanking for one of these big name quarterbacks that's coming in next year. And then we could just punt both of them away, or at least Tua and Michael could stay on a rookie contract, be a backup, and we're all happy. Nobody's, no harm, no foul. But as of this year, I have very little expectation when it comes to Tua Tagovailoa. Now, the worst case scenario, if you're Atlanta, is, at least in my opinion, Michael Penix starts the season. Halfway through, something happens and his knee buckles. We have to go to Tua Tagovailoa, who, let's be honest, probably the first 2-3 games will do swimmingly, will do amazingly. Why? Because he's on a brand new offense, and that's usually how it works. These quarterbacks go and find a new offense where they can sit for a little bit. They get their opportunity, and they start to look good again. And then Atlanta starts getting it in their head that, maybe Tua's the guy.
Don't pay him.
And then exactly.
Don't
then
pay
you
him.
pay him the exact same money that Miami did. He comes back the next year, and it's because we all know that's exactly what's going to happen. So as a Falcons fan, 1 year, layaway pick, just a little bit of a bridge quarterback, fine, sure, whatever. Anything's better than $180 million to a quarterback that just blew out his Achilles. But I'm not excited for this whatsoever. I'm really not. There's nothing about this that anybody can convince me is going to be an amazing.
No, you got to see what kind of Tua you get, and
exactly.
That's week to week, and I'll promise that.
Yeah.
And I will say, if you play fantasy football and Tua is playing, Pitts is going to get targets,
which is fine. And we're
that
all
is a good
for
thing.
Kyle Pitts getting more targets. I'm all for that. I'm all for Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan.
Bijan will get his.
And don't get me wrong, my team broke my heart yesterday when they did not give Tyler Algier an extension.
Yeah, that one.
That broke my heart, and I should have known. I should have known it was coming. when I was sitting here during the show and saw, oh, Zacchaeus is returning. Wow, okay. Austin Hooper's coming back. Oh, wow. All right, cool. We got some old faces back on the team. Love to see that. And then I go home and I see former Atlanta Falcons running back. And as soon as I said former, it said, oh, no.
Oh, no.
And then it said Arizona Cardinals. He chose the Arizona Cardinals, where he's going to be a backup to James Conner, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, no. Now, don't get me wrong. He's going to absolutely outplay James Conner, become the starting running back in Arizona, and probably have a hell of a year. A 1,000-yard rusher. And I can guarantee, I'll put money on it right now.
Don't do that.
That boy is that good. But
I've also seen, I've seen other running backs succeed in certain offenses and blow up, and then turn around and the next team that they play on, they go, well, just
absolutely.
Down.
Yeah, no,
and
that's true.
I've seen the same thing with a lot of running backs that I've really liked. I saw it with Ronnie Brown. I saw it with Mostert. I've seen it with a lot of running backs that I've liked. And the second part of the question was, how do I feel about Malik Willis? And once again, it's what it is. We got him for half the price that I expected Malik Willis to get in the offseason, which is awesome. I've heard the interviews with Malik now that he's in Miami talking with the team. He said, being familiar with not only the head coach, but the GM, and having an opportunity to play games. He said, this is the longest tenure that I've ever had with an offense that I understand. He had 1 year in Tennessee. He's had 2 years in Green Bay, and I like it for the chance that he's young, he's mobile, and he has a cannon arm. And I think that'll be a positive thing for guys like Waddle and A-Chain. But there is a lot of young guys, and I think it can click. And if it doesn't, there's an easy out in 2027 on the contract, and we could be in the same boat as, hey, in 4 to 6 weeks in the season, if we're that bad, they're that
Archie,
bad,
baby.
and
we're all tanking
for a better
Archie,
quarterback.
Baby.
So, I don't personally think it'll be Manning, but I think there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks in this draft.
I agree, and that's what Greg told me too. Greg was like, "Well, there's no guarantee you get the first overall pick." I looked at him and said, "Who's to say that Archie's the first one?"
Exactly.
Everybody talks about Archie as if he's going to be the number one just because he's a Manning. But we got Dante Moore in that draft class.
That's what I want.
We got a lot of quarterbacks coming out. You got Sam Levitt coming out. If he has a fantastic year with LSU, he could be a talking head, or he could be a name people are talking about. I mean, Jaden Mayava, I keep talking about him from USC. Very talented quarterback, could potentially be a mid-rounder. There could be a lot of names that get picked up next year just to see if they're any good. I mean, if people are willing to take a shot on Carson Beck and Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller, who is coming off a very serious injury, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of teams that are willing to take some of the quarterbacks next year and give them the exact same opportunity. I'm just saying, for Atlanta's situation, I don't want to see us suck, especially now that I keep seeing teams like the Saints and the Panthers picking up guys left and right. And the Panthers, I can't believe I'm about to say this, might actually be a good football team next year. That didn't sound right coming out of my mouth, Sparky. It did not sound right at all. The Carolina Panthers might be a good. Sorry, no, can't say it. Can't say it a second time.
Playoff team.
No. Okay, they were a playoff team last year, but it is what it is. When I'm Atlanta, I'm looking at this and I say, okay, everybody else is picking up pivotal people for their team. We're picking up role players. It's not going to be a very good season next year. I can tell you that right now. When Pat McAfee and the boys are making fun of you on the show, it's not going to be a good season.
That's all I've heard from my team this morning. Yeah. All they're doing, what are you doing? You're supposed to be tanking. Why are you picking up Willis? Blah, 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 blah.
Who else was going to give Willis a shot?
He's a young kid, dude, and he understands the offense that they're trying to build.
Exactly.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
And it's like he said, too, this will be the first time he's actually in an offense for multiple years. He can build off of himself, and he finally found a team that's willing to take a shot on him. I think everybody forgets that this guy, when he came into the draft, although, yes, slipped down into the later rounds, he was supposed to be a first-round draft pick, though. Everybody was talking about this guy as if he was going to be one of the next bigger names in that draft class. Now, again, this is one of the worst quarterback draft classes that we've seen in a while. But still, he's one of the big names that has come out of it. And I like to see this kind of a story, a resurgence from a player who never really got a shot in Tennessee and then took his own, bet on himself. Finally got an opportunity with a Packers team and looked pretty solid. I won't say he looked fantastic, but he looked pretty solid. And like with Miami, or like what you're saying, where's the negative of Miami signing a guy like Malik Willis? You guys have the money for it. You just said it. You have a poison pill technically situation. If you don't work out, you can move on from him next year or the year after. So it's really no harm, no foul for Miami.
So what
And
were we supposed to do? Get Geno?
exactly. Because that's the thing I'm thinking here is now that we've seen guys like Malik Willis go, and for, like you said, considerably less money than we expected, because obviously, they were looking for a team friendly deal and he took it. But guys like Kyler Murray are still out there, and teams like, I don't know, Minnesota are still shopping for quarterbacks just in case.
The Jets,
The
the
Jets.
Steelers.
I hear Geno Smith and the Jets are connected again, which would be very interesting.
When we
Considering
got
the
off the
first
air
question I
yesterday,
asked.
Gino has said, "Oh, I love Miami." And I was like, "Dude, please no,
Yeah, well,
please no." And then I saw the Willis. I was like, "Okay, thank you."
look, and I know Gino's looking to be one of those guys as well and step into a new role and hopefully find something to reignite his career in general. I don't think it's going to happen. I think everybody's going to take that last year with the Raiders and blame you for it, unfortunately.
Of course.
And he'll get a backup job. But I swear, if it's with the Jets, I wish I had the audio. Most of you are not going to believe me when I say that I did ask him this question first week of last year.
Oh, I remember hearing about
I
it.
looked at him on the way out of the locker room of the press conference. I said, "What's harder, your time with the Jets or playing for Pete Carroll?" And he laughed and said, "I don't have a good answer for you there." And I said, "Okay, cool. But if he signs with the Jets, I have all the answer I need right there, buddy. It doesn't. It couldn't have been that bad if you're willing to go back and play for him, especially in a backup role." So we'll see what happens with Geno Smith. But before we take our first break, when it comes to Kyler Murray, because that is the biggest name, at least quarterback wise, that's still out there. Not a lot of teams are looking for a quarterback outside of maybe a Minnesota or the Jets, like we just mentioned. Do you think he gets picked up, or is Kyler going to be looking for a new job as a Call of Duty player?
I think he goes to the Jets or probably Pittsburgh.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of Raider fans that are saying they want him over there as a mentor to a Fernando Mendoza. I don't know if that's the right quarterback you want to
Go
mentor him.
ahead, man. You got the money.
I mean, that's
If
true.
you can get him for under $2 million, I thought Miami was going to do it.
It's not necessarily the money, though, that I see as the issue. It's the mentality of
Exactly.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
From everything that we've heard, I mean, him not watching film, not
We've heard
doing
the A's come out and say, "Come back to baseball."
Exactly. Like, I mean, is Kyler really the quarterback you want mentality wise, teaching your rookie? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love him as a player. I think he's a fantastic quarterback. But when I hear stories that your starting quarterback won't even sit down and watch film, uh, last quarterback that I knew that started that way and refused to watch film was a man named Johnny Manziel. And we all know how that ended.
Who?
Exactly. So I don't know if Kyler Murray coming in and looking at your rookie quarterback and saying, "Hey, man, you want to play Call of Duty after practice?" Like, I don't think that's really the right
I don't
route.
think you want that mindset.
Not at all. So I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say they would love Kyler Murray. I think the best spot for him is Minnesota with a guy like O'Connell who can get the most out of him. But that's even if they want somebody like, or want to pay for someone like Kyler Murray, because obviously when a name like that comes into the quarterback room, it comes with a lot of problems and baggage too. Because now all the media is going to be talking about is when does he get his shot? Because obviously JJ isn't going to be the guy. And I don't know if O'Connell's going to want to deal with that for a long period of time, but we'll see because it is NFL free agency. And at this point, the Vikings need to do everything possible just to keep up with the Lions, the Bears, and the Packers. We will see what happens, and we'll keep you up to date on all of that. Let's take our first break. Oh, the day. We got a ton to talk about. And to be honest, the first story that I saw this morning that I really wanted to get into, the NCAA is starting to look into technology-based things. I don't know exactly how to explain it. They're going to use technology to look into their referees and betting lines during the March Madness tournament and make sure everything is on the up and up. So it seems like the NCAA is kind of concerned that maybe there's a little bit of a betting issue in the March Madness tournament. We'll talk about that and much, much more right here on KGEO Sports Talk. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Early bird special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. Just got done breaking down some of the big signings of the NFL free agency, which technically begins tomorrow. All of these signings don't become official until tomorrow. So
there was one other one I wanted to bounce off you.
Which one? Rico Dowdle? Because every Steeler fan has texted me saying, "Oh my God, we got Rico!" I said, "Yeah, but you guys lost Kenneth Gainwell."
Yeah, and I did like the Pittman trade, which was pennies on the dollar.
That was incredible. I can't believe they got
6-rounder.
And you know what? It's all stemming from the Alec Pierce signing, which they overpaid for that boy. I don't care what Colt fans talk about. Alec Pierce, although a good deep receiver, a good slot receiver, is not worth $29 million a year.
No.
That is absurd money for a guy like him. I'm sorry. We won't talk about some teams overpaying. That was probably the biggest overpay of the day, in my opinion.
The one I was going to ask you was the Kenneth Walker.
That is huge. That's huge.
Not only does he go to the Chiefs, which we were talking about the Chiefs looking at Love in the draft because it's a perfect fit.
Thank God they are.
Which I don't think they'll have to do that anymore.
Oh, Jesus listens to my prayers, Sparky. That's what it is. He listens to me.
Maybe he lands somewhere else.
I don't know. Again, this move by the Chiefs is great because they're rebuilding a different style of team. This honestly makes me believe that they will not be going after a guy like Tyreek Hill. They're going to be going after an offense more that's going to be controlled. They're going to be winning close games. And I think they realize with the possibility of Patrick Mahomes being injured for at least first quarter, if not the first half of the season, God only knows how long this is going to take for him to come back. You should build a team that doesn't necessarily focus on the quarterback itself. You should build a team that is balanced and is able to keep itself afloat while you wait for your star player to return. And a Super Bowl MVP getting his money, by the way, I know we talked about him potentially getting upwards in the close to $20 million range, and it was close in this area. I believe it's actually only $28 million, though, that's guaranteed on this contract. So out of the 45 total that he could potentially get, if I'm not mistaken on those numbers.
Just the only one that didn't understand, or I didn't understand, is they didn't pay Walker, but then they turn around and overpay for Shaheed.
Right.
In my eyes.
Right. Oh, yeah, 100%. But again,
really?
They believe that Charbonnet is good enough to be that guy. That's fine if that's what Seattle believes. But again, I have to highlight, and I know a lot of people love to sit there and say I'm wrong about this. You don't win that Super Bowl if it wasn't for Kenneth Walker. There's a reason he won Super Bowl MVP, and it's not just because he rushed and carried the ball for over 150 to 170 yards in a Super Bowl. I mean, he was the offensive pace. And when you have a guy like that you can lean on, it's different. But they truly believe that Charbonnet can be that guy, so that's why they decided we are going to move off of one and go with the receiver. Shaheed, although again, much like an Alex Pierce, great deep ball guy, but overpaying for some of these wide receivers is it's going to become a problem.
Yep.
It really is.
So you're going to pay Shaheed that, but you won't pay Walker. I get it.
But see, here's the thing. Shaheed and Alec Pierce, I think in about 2 to 3 years, probably going to be on the trade block.
Oh, yeah.
More than likely, we're going to be hearing teams talk about, oh, we got to somehow offload this contract so we can figure out how to pay a guy like JSN, or in the Colts situation, Jonathan Taylor. Because that's the other thing I was thinking of as well is, although it's nice to see the Indianapolis Colts have some loyalty to their players, what are you going to do about the Jonathan Taylor situation if you're going to be overpaying for guys like Alex Pierce? And I don't know. Again, you still have to figure out the Daniel Jones situation after this year as well, because you only gave him a year transition tag. And from what it looks like, I think that their calling of people's, believing that nobody else is going to pay for Daniel Jones is working out. Basically, is what I'm trying to get at here. I don't think that anybody's really going to be reaching out to Daniel and saying 40 mil, get you away from that team. I don't think that's actually going to happen. If it was, we would have heard about it. Unless Minnesota's got something cooking that we have no idea about. But even then, I think they would probably be content taking on a guy like a Geno Smith or a Kyler Murray at pennies on the dollar. So I don't know. Again, I agree with you that it's odd to me that Seattle doesn't try to bring back the Super Bowl MVP, but then turns around and grabs the receiver you've had for a year.
which is a
But
wide receiver 2 kick returner
at
guy.
best.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
At
That's a
best,
lot
wide
of money
receiver
for that.
two. It is, but that's where they decided
That's
to
the
allocate
market.
the money. Yeah, it's the market, and unfortunately for some teams, wide receivers are highly coveted, and
Yeah,
you're gonna have to
and
spend a
I
lot of
like what
money.
Kansas City did. I'm like, if you can get Kenneth Walker, they probably didn't expect him to be there. And, bringing back Kelsey for a year, I would think Kelsey knows something that Mahomes is probably going to
Yes,
be back earlier than we were expecting,
or
which I wouldn't be surprised.
or at least is getting peddled some sort of information from
Hmm.
Patrick that maybe makes him believe that he's going to be back quickly. Because I said the same thing. There's no way Travis comes back for one final year if Patrick isn't playing in most of it. Because that's the whole point. You're trying to do this to make all of that like negativity go away of your career. I said it yesterday. Tom Brady put that pedestal so gosh dang high for retiring NFL legends that all of them now believe that they have to win a Super Bowl in order to actually be seen as one. Or I'm sorry, win a Super Bowl on the way out to be seen as one, I should say. And I think that's what Travis Kelsey is thinking. I think he thinks I still have a little bit in me to go play. I'd rather not travel around with Taylor all year round at all of her incredible concerts. But the main thing, again, goes down to focus for me when it comes to Travis. I've heard it multiple times come out of his mouth on his podcast and from people around him on the team. His focus has not been directly on football, and that is why his play has declined. So, are we going to get the Travis Kelsey that's going to turn around and focus on football? Or are we going to get the Travis Kelsey we've seen the last couple of years who is so wrapped up in his celebrity lifestyle that it's going to be a shell of his former self? And I argue that if we get the latter, it's not worth you coming back. It's really not. Because one more bad year, and there's no way people are going to be talking about Travis Kelsey in the same light as they do a Tony Gonzalez.
Yep, or Gronk type guy.
Exactly. So this is a double-sided sword for Travis. I'm glad to see him back because honestly, I didn't want to see him go down the way he did. But I'm also one of those people that doesn't want to see the Chiefs win another Super Bowl. So
The only other one that really stood out to me that I liked was Isaiah Likely going to the Giants.
that one actually had
I
my
was
head
like,
scratching a little
okay.
bit. Although I like Isaiah Likely going and rejoining his former head coach and John Harbaugh. They had a tight end already that had great rapport with Jackson Dart. So, I mean, again, not to say Johnson is going anywhere, but you had a guy that was really gelling with the quarterback already, bringing in a tight end that's essentially going to be taking his job.
Or they go through the 2 tight end set like they did in Baltimore.
True. I mean, that's entirely possible, but
Which opens up guys like Scatabo, and
God,
I
could you
like what the
imagine?
Giants are putting together.
Yeah, and then bringing in the one thing that I thought was interesting yesterday was just the pure amount of punters and kickers that we saw get picked up as
In
well.
day one.
I was like, there's a market for punters. I mean, McAfee even was joking about it yesterday. I couldn't believe it. But them bringing in the first punter was this one that I started thinking, okay, are the Giants really even thinking correctly here if they're bringing up into punter first? But again, the Isaiah Likely situation looks good, but I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be what they think it's going to be. And Isaiah Likely, although he had flashes of being a solid tight end,
Can't stay healthy.
yeah, and has moments of disappearing on the field as well. So we'll see what happens. But the Giants, I think, are right there, as we've said on this show a couple times. I would just hate to see them derail themselves because of some bad signings or just believe that they have the team already and not make any moves at
Oh,
all.
like Harbaugh usually does.
Exactly. But we'll see what happens. Again, I trust in the Harbaugh family. They're a great coaching family, and I'm sure he's got some sort of plan to rebuild this Giants team. Anything to just make Cowboy fans cry. I'm sorry. At this point, I just want to see the Giants over the Cowboys in the standings, just so I can see the Cowboys fans saying, "What happened? How? How did they get on top of us too?" It's just so much fun to watch. It really is. Let's take a break. We'll get into this NCAA situation on the other side. They're trying to monitor their referees in baseball, softball, and basketball in their championship runs just to make sure there's no, side betting being taken place anonymously by some of the referees. We'll get into that on the other side of this break. This is the early bird special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Welcome back. Early bird special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. Talked a lot about the about the NFL and free agent frenzy. It will continue today. You'll be hearing nothing but NFL signings all day today as they all become official tomorrow at the beginning of free agency. One of the biggest things that I kept thinking about, though, yesterday is which team is going to get busted for tampering this year. I know that they created this 2-day window for teams to be able to sign and have a tampering window essentially. But we've seen it the last couple seasons. Saquon Barkley got busted with the Eagles a couple years ago. Atlanta did the same thing with Kirko. So I'm wondering how many of these teams have actually been talking to these players well before this week? Let's be honest, not to throw shade at Miami, but how long has Miami been talking to Malik Willis and telling him, "Hey, brother, what's the number? What do we gotta, what digit do we have to hit to make this deal happen?" So,
Well, I think it was Rich Eisen asked him, was there any other teams involved? He said, not that I know of.
oh well, I highly doubt Miami was the only team that reached out. I would assume Green Bay at least would try to bring him back, but who knows? Maybe they all saw a price tag a little bit too steep and they didn't want to have to pay it.
I had friends that are Dolphin fans with me, and they were texting me before, are we bringing Malik? And my immediate answer was, it's too pricey, dude. We're not going to get him.
But again, it's not that bad of a price tag.
But it was projected to be double that.
Yo, I understand.
I was like, yeah, if we can get him for that.
No, and I completely understand that. And I think that is on purpose. He probably sees that, the $99 million cap hit that Tua left. So he'll have to take a team-friendly deal until that cap hit is gone.
And if he can prove himself, he'll get taken care of.
I can agree with that. Miami traditionally loves to take care of their players, and as we saw from the NFLPA survey, everybody loves to play there. It's A's across the board. So we'll see what happens. I think this is going to be a great transition for Malik. However, before we get off of this entire championship week here, because this is essentially where championships are made. You have to build your team in order to actually make this happen. Has anybody made a move that makes you think, oh, wow, this is the team, or this is a team that I need to be looking at next season? Personally, and I said the team already. I'm starting to look at the Carolina Panthers and say, oh, Lord, they actually figured something out. Picking up the defensive pieces. They got Jalen Phillips yesterday. They took the heart and soul of the Jacksonville Jaguar defense yesterday. I mean, they're making solid moves here to really put themselves back into some sort of contention. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to be better than Tampa. I'm hopefully not going to say that they're going to be better than Atlanta, but I mean, hey, until the quarterback situation is figured out, I can't tell you. Excuse me. I have something going on. I have no idea. I better not be getting sick again. I swear to God. But has there been a signing or a team that has made moves where you sit there and say, okay, they're going to have a turnaround next year? I know the Vegas Raiders obviously spending so much money. Their fan base would like to believe that. I think there still needs to be a couple more moves, though. But anybody in your mind?
Not really. I think, I've seen my team do the free agency splurge, and I've seen what it reacts to. Not really big names. I was the one that scratched my head was the Kenneth Walker one I brought up. I like what the Giants are doing. They're not going crazy, but they're picking players because that's one of those teams that people overlook because of all the injuries last year.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think they've already had, they last year with the rookie draft. I think there's going to be some big head scratchers going into the draft. I personally have seen teams overspend in free agency, and it turns into a circus once they all get on the field, and it takes a little while to build that chemistry.
Right.
And I like what the Raiders have done so far, but there's so much going on with the Raiders. Not only it's going to be a rookie quarterback under the center. We don't know what he's going to look like in the NFL speed, which I like the kid, but we've seen guys from college that are really good and turn into not so good pro athletes. But I do like what they've addressed, but you've got glaring holes. You just lost your backbone of that team. So I wouldn't say the Raiders, but I think there's some big names out there that are still looking at homes. I want to see where Hendrickson goes.
Absolutely.
I like Rick Wooden of the cornerback from the Seahawks. I want to see where guys like, the older vets, whether it's, Nick Chubb, Joey Bosa, Bobby Wagner. There's some big names out there still, but I think they're being their veterans are going to be kind of tiptoeing and seeing, okay, what is going to be best for me to finish my career.
Right. Honestly, I would be surprised if Seattle allows Woolen to walk. That was one of their main corners last year, and without him, I don't think that defense looks as good as it used to or as it did last season. Also, wouldn't be opposed to seeing them bring back Bobby Wagner for one more year.
Me
Just
too.
throwing that out there. He has been a fantastic linebacker for wherever team has decided to pay him. And with every, I shouldn't say every, with a lot of these players going back to former teams, which I have noticed that this offseason seems like a lot of these guys are going back to teams they used to play for. Would love to see Bobby make that transition as well.
Chubb
Would be great. Well, yeah, Nick Chubb going back to the Browns would be interesting, especially with Judkins back there. Would love to see somebody just be a mentor to that kid.
And I totally forgot Bradley Chubb. I mean, what if he
Yeah.
went back to Denver or something like that?
God,
I don't know.
They need another
Right?
another pass rusher on that defense. But again, we're going to let you guys know as all of these deals come down. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen anything so far this morning. I expected a little bit more, but when they come down, we will let you guys know. Let's shift over to the NCAA, though, because this story was pretty interesting this morning when I had looked into it, and I want to get your thoughts. But the NCAA has announced on Tuesday that it'll be monitoring officials in this year's basketball, baseball, and softball championships just to make sure there's no illegal betting going on with officials. They're going to be using a program called Prohibit, I believe is actually how it's pronounced. It's made by Integrity Compliance 360, which is a company that works with a whole bunch of different sports organizations to really just monitor betting lines, all the sports books, and make sure that there's no impersonable bettors. There's no people that are betting that shouldn't be betting. Ergo, your team officials, your referees, your team owners, all of that. It monitors all of them, including people who stay anonymous, so they can just track them down and make sure nobody's doing stuff they're not supposed to. And this is how a lot of these organizations are busting a lot of these players and officials for doing this. So the NCAA, I think, has some sort of thought or maybe even a theory that some of their referees may not be on the up and up with the championship games. So they're going to be using this system to kind of monitor those referees or all of the referees in general and make sure there's nothing going on that really shouldn't be. Do you like this move? Do you think this is a good way for the NCAA to really crack down on this betting situation, especially seeing how it has affected professional sports these days? The NBA obviously having a massive, massive problem with this right now. The NCAA is just trying to make the move, in my opinion, to thwart that before it becomes a problem for them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, that's making that public is probably enough, but I think they should be doing it anyway.
Right.
I mean, with just what we've seen all over the sports world with betting and gambling. But I'll applaud the NCAA for at least coming out publicly and saying this is what we're doing. So if you're doing it, you better watch it, and I think, hopefully the big busts of all this in all sports is coming to an end. But sadly, knowing several people that have gambling issues, I think this is going to continue to go on, as well as these these leagues team up with the sponsoring,
right?
Whether it's the DraftKings or whatever it is. And I just think it's going to be a problem until they just cut it.
And you kind of stumbled into the other half of what I was going to say as well, is until they actually make some sort of border between the sponsorship and the actual use of the app. I agree with you, because from what I'm reading here on ESPN, we have over 220 officials, including alternate referees, that work during these basketball championships alone. That's a lot of people to really just believe that none of them are sports bettors, or at least making something on the side. Because when they see all these athletes making hand over fist money and they're the reason that the game gets to be played, because let's be honest, without referees, you don't get to play the game anymore.
For now.
a lot of people are just spiteful in that area and just think, well, if they're going to get their money, I'm going to get mine. So I like this, and like you said, maybe just making it public will deter people, or at least make the right steps, or bring the right steps forward for the NCAA to be able to stop this kind of a thing, or at least get in front of it. But I just 220 referees out there, and you're going to sit there and tell me none of these guys have ever opened up a sports book before? It's like,
We didn't pass on some info that they only know.
exactly. So that's why I like this. I think more organizations need to do this if they're not doing it already, because we have a major problem in sports, and it really is headed towards people believing that all sports are rigged. And if we don't do something to kind of stop that, it's just going to be a giant snowball that rolls downhill until it's too big to stop. And then everybody's just looking at all sports, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, or the NCAA, as the WWE, because it's all fixed and rigged, and nobody's ever going to actually take it seriously, because all they're thinking is the referees and the officials and the people who make this thing happen are all just looking to screw us over out of our money. So I think this is a good thing. Prohibit is hopefully something you're going to be hearing a lot about here in the next couple months, because I would not be surprised if by using this system, they find one or two referees that have been making some questionable decisions outside of their job as a referee official for basketball or baseball, whatever sport they, work
Probably
for.
only have one or two busts away from just turning it over to the robots.
It's possible. And we've been saying it on this show. And when it actually happens, you'll be thinking of Sparky, because he's been saying this for months. Let's take a break. We're going to get in some wrestling on the other side. Not sure if our guy KG will be joining us. He is in Disneyland, but plenty happened on Raw last night. So myself and Sparky will break it down for you, and what we expect to see, as WrestleMania is now 5 weeks away. This is the early bird special. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Welcome back. Early bird special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. And we were right. No KG today. He's probably in the middle of Disneyland right now, having the time of his life while we're all at work. There's a little bit of jealousy there. I'm sorry. There's a little green monster around my corner or over my shoulder.
I'd rather be in bed
Fair.
than Disneyland.
I love Disneyland, man. Disneyland's one of my favorite places.
I can't stand that place.
Really? Well, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. I get why every father says that, but I love it. I grew up going there. That was my happy place with my godfather before he passed. And yeah, I was like, it holds a special place in my heart. That's all I could say. It does. I don't care how much money I got to drop to go see Mickey. I'll drop it. I'll do it. I'm a Disney kid. It just is what it is. Speaking of being a Disney kid as well, we'll talk to our guy Rick Bentley next Monday after the Oscars, talk about all things that are coming out in the world of entertainment. I want to go see this new Hoppers movie.
We're seeing it today.
Are you? Let me know how it is. It actually looks very funny. And from what they keep promoting, it's the funniest movie Pixar's ever made. But usually when they say it's the funniest movie they've ever made, yeah, it's usually not very good. Man. So that's what concerns me.
I was all excited about it too.
I know.
We're going to see it in 3D.
Oh, are you really?
So we'll see. I had to watch the trailer a couple times, but I'm trying to get my son not to overthink about this driving test tomorrow. So we're going to do that. And we're also over at MoneyWise. We're doing a financial education seminar on Thursday for teenagers, and they bring their guardian or parents with them. And our boy Seth Perry is going to teach them the necessities they need to know going in.
Smart.
And it's out at C-Tech tomorrow. If you got to go on their social media and check it out. If there is any, I believe there's very few seats left, if any.
I was going to say, if you have a teenager, honestly, you should send them to this class just solely so they learn how to manage their money. Because trust me, the high school ain't telling them.
No.
And most of you parents are doing the best you can, but I know you're not teaching them either because it's something that you probably were never taught when you were a kid. So do the right thing. Put your kid in the right situation. Go take him to this seminar.
Especially how money is these days.
Shoot.
Everything is expensive.
We just saw over $3 billion get
just in a day
paid to NFL players in a single day. Yeah, the money is just so weird these days. It really is, but it's what makes the world go around. So everybody's got to use it. Let's talk a little wrestling, my friend, because yesterday's Raw was fantastic, in my opinion. We saw a ton happen, and honestly, most of it is key pivotal storyline moves that we will see pretty much come to a head at WrestleMania. The first part that I saw that I thought was pretty interesting, we finally see the separation of Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. We've been kind of seeing it for the last couple of weeks. Finn's had a change of heart since his championship match against CM Punk a couple weeks ago. And because of that, he has really turned into a father figure in the brightest of terms for Dom Mysterio, which we all know what happens when Dom gets a father figure. He usually turns on him, beats the hell out of him, and kicks him out of his clubhouse. So that's what happened to Finn Balor yesterday when he stood up and told Dominic Mysterio, you need to start acting like a man and stop acting like a little B word. And I can't use the word because obviously we're on the radio.
Is that the word you use?
Well, probably.
Mine cut out.
Well, yeah. If it cuts out, it's usually the WWE or Netflix saying, can't say that. Regardless, I mean, it's something that was brewing for a long time. I'm actually surprised they got JD McDonough and the girls in on it as well.
That's what surprised me was JD.
JD has been with Finn Balor since literally the beginning of his wrestling career. So to have that turn as well was probably even more emotionally tying. How they're going to make this work for WrestleMania, though, is the real question, because that's the only thing I see working with this is you're brewing a Finn Balor against Dom Mysterio match at WrestleMania, maybe to disband the Judgment Day as a whole, or just to get revenge, as we usually see in wrestling terms. Are you happy to see this finally happen? I know we've talked about it for a couple weeks now with our guy KG. It's been desperately needed with a guy like Finn Balor.
I like the direction for Finn, but I love Judgment Day, so it kind of sucks after all these years to see them at least move out of the whole Judgment Day, but I think they're not done, and I think they'll probably bring somebody else in.
The original 4 members of the Judgment Day are now officially kicked out. because Edge is the one who started it. Damian Priest and Rhea have been gone for quite some time, and then Finn Balor was brought in to replace Edge. And of course, Dominic Mysterio, the one that they all brought in and, converted into this a-hole persona that we know now, is now the de facto leader of the group. I would like to see some sort of Bullet Club against Judgment Day kind of a thing. Not obviously in name, because I don't know if the WWE owns the copyright to the Bullet Club, but with
You've been
Finn
hinting it
Balor,
around.
I know, and with Finn Balor being who he is, I could see him recruiting guys like AJ Styles, like the Good Brothers, like Tama Tonga, to come over and help him out for a couple days or a couple weeks and essentially put an end to the Judgment Day as a whole. I don't know if we're going to get that, because the Judgment Day is one of the biggest cash cows for the WWE right now. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that we're finally going to get that singles push that they have been dangling in front of our face for Finn Balor for years. And hopefully this actually leads to him putting a major title around his waist, which has been far overdue in my personal opinion. But the major talking point that happened out of yesterday was the face-to-face at the very end of the show between CM Punk and the Usos, where Jay and Jimmy came out demanding an apology for what was said last week. I said at the top of the show, I think there's some actual, valid feelings behind this. I don't think the Samoan bloodline was very happy with the way CM Punk dropped, a bomb on Roman last week. And it's not because of Roman, it's because of Afa. When you bring up somebody who has now passed away, like Jimmy said yesterday, he doesn't have a voice to protect himself. And you using their family member as essentially a bullet does not sit well with anybody, let alone a Samoan bloodline of wrestlers. So I think there is some real life animosity right now that's brewing between CM Punk and the Anoa'i family. Do you think that that's a good thing for WrestleMania, though? Because again, they need to do everything possible, kind of like the Rhea Ripley Jade Cargill situation that we talked about last week. You got to find a reason. You got to find a reason for these matches outside of just having CM Punk and Roman Reigns in a wrestling match together.
I think it brings them all back together. And I think if anyone was going to be allowed to do it, it's going to be somebody like CM Punk.
Right.
Just because he's always been good on the mic. And I think he's probably the only, aside from maybe Cody, but Cody would never, I don't see his character being that.
That's when
that
you know
type
the
of guy.
heel turn would happen, is if Cody's starting to throw people's families out there.
But if it wasn't for Jimmy being there, I think, he was the one that kind of centered it. And because Jay seemed like he was cracked out of his mind.
With new tattoos, too.
Yeah.
You notice that? He's got the whole chest done now. He blasted everything over the weekend.
But I like that Jimmy is involved. I don't know how they're going to work it out with, I don't know if the Usos, they pretty much put it out there that this has nothing to do with Roman. It's obviously our family, but
right.
I think it's a perfect setup for them all to get back together and be there for our family.
I would love to see a resurgence of the bloodline, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if that's going to be good for the product, because
I could already hear KG, we're done with it.
Exactly.
This writing.
It's the writing, and we're just going to go back to what was making money a couple years ago, which, to be fair, if it was making money back then, it's going to be making money for you now. But the other side of this coin that I see is, what if they actually set this up for CM Punk to run through the entire Samoan bloodline and essentially build himself up as that kind of a champion? I agree with you. Good luck. But at the same time, he is the biggest name right now outside of a Cody Rhodes. And it would make sense for them to build up their champion like that and make him seem larger than life, so we get one of those style championship runs, especially since it seems like this entire championship run for Punk has been based around, I'm the best in the world. I beat the best in the world. And
I'm a fighting champ.
Exactly. And beating arguably the WWE's biggest faction ever would continue that storyline, in my opinion.
I don't think it gets through Roman.
Really? Just Roman by himself?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be by himself. But
right, yeah. Very, very rarely when it comes to the Samoan family is it by themselves.
I don't know if it'll be whether it's the Rock or the Usos or somebody else makes a surprise. Mm-hmm. But I think this is a perfect way for Punk to lose it.
And again, to the right person too, because Roman is much like Cody, probably the third biggest. Actually, I can't even put him at third.
And he's so good on the mic, man.
He really is. But again, it's hard for me to really say who's the face or the biggest name of the company between Punk, Roman, and Cody. It really is a 1A, 1B, 1C situation. But when it really comes down to it right now, since Roman does not have a title, he is 1C in all of this.
I think it's about time for Roman to get back on top because, I mean, he played. I mean, he set up several wrestlers in the last couple years where he probably could have just, took over. But there was so many different stories that Roman has been the pit of it. I think it's time.
Do you think so? Well, it really wasn't that long ago since that he had a title around his waist. But to be fair,
not since I've watched it.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, we haven't seen him on television too because he's taken such a long hiatus away. Maybe that's why, to me, it's starting to feel like, oh, really? We're going to put it on him again? Because eventually it's going to start feeling like Brock. Because that's essentially what the WWE does with Brock Lesnar. The minute that they have a champion that's too big or needs, a little coming down, they just give the belt back to Brock Lesnar.
And that's a perfect setup because that's another thing they promoted it. Brock is one of those dates that he's going to come out and say, who's got the cojones to come out and fight me at WrestleMania. Who do you think it's going to be?
It's got to be Seth. I mean, again, I would like for it to be Oba, especially watching Oba absolutely manhandle
that
Rusev
match
last
with
night.
Rusev was insane.
I didn't think they were going to make it that quick, but the fact that match went that way, pretty much had Oba manhandling somebody the exact same size as him, makes me believe that the option of Brock Lesnar versus Oba at Mania is still on the table. But I really like this entire idea of Seth Rollins against Brock Lesnar right now.
I think we're seeing Seth and Logan.
I really don't want to see that again, but you're probably right. And you kind of got it right, too. The entire Foot Clan situation, especially after yesterday's promo,
yes,
definitely gave me Foot Clan vibes.
Yes.
Like, I was watching it, and I'm sitting here like, did he just take the scene from Ninja Turtles?
Yep,
like, legitimately just sat there with all of the guys coming up and just went, all right, backing out.
Mixed them all up.
I was like, dude, that is straight out of the Ninja Turtles movie. Like, that is fantastic. The first thing I thought of when I saw that was you, because I was like, oh my God, he has a Foot Clan.
And it's perfect, man. I'm a big Seth Rollins fan, if you didn't know, but I think this just whole setup, I don't think it was supposed to be Logan.
No, it was definitely supposed to be Breakker. 100%.
And the only thing I could think of, I mean, we expect Braun to be out for a while, right?
That is the rumor, but again, a lot of these wrestlers come back a lot quicker than we expect. Because I was just about to say, what do you think the probability is that Braun makes a random appearance in the next 3-4 weeks right before Mania? Because they will slap that down last second, 100%.
Or just hold off and wait until WrestleMania.
Right. They will wait.
Because that'd be a huge pop.
That would. Actually, that's a good point. His return at WrestleMania would be massive, but there is a probability that it happens weeks before just to make that match part of the card. Bigger. Because, again, Logan against Seth Rollins, I love Logan Paul. I do. But let's be honest, the only thing people want to see out of Logan right now is to see him get his butt handed to him in a boxing ring after all the smack talk he's been doing. But Seth Rollins against Braun Breaker, massive swing. But it's the same thing with Seth Rollins against Brock Lesnar. I would rather see Seth versus Brock Lesnar, even if it's just Brock running through Seth like no problem, than Seth versus Logan again. We've seen Seth versus Logan. I don't need that again.
I think the only way they do is to set up Braun to return.
Yeah.
And extend this whole damn story. And I mean, if they've been cooking this Oba thing, man, he's got to fight somebody that can give him a match. Mm-hmm. And there was parts of that match with Rusev that was like, all right, somebody's actually hitting him this time. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the only one that makes sense is him and Oba.
And for those of you who aren't wrestling fans or just loose wrestling fans, and you're looking for clues to make us, that make us believe certain things are going to happen on the product. So one of the major things that I look at is what the commentators are saying, because what the commentators are saying is stirring the pot of the story from point A to point B of this match. And what a lot of what they were saying about Oba yesterday was he's the first ever NIL champion for the WWE. He's a collegiate athlete. They're comparing him to Brock. They are making comparisons saying, hey, Brock Lesnar was this, that, and the other thing as a collegiate athlete. Obafemi was a shot putter, this, that. He was the first NIL athlete for the WWE to hold a championship. Like, they are putting them on the same pedestals. That's why while watching that match yesterday, I was like, okay, they might actually be brewing this up for Oba versus Brock just because, one, the fan base wants it, but two, when you can compare the two and pretty much make a tail of the tape that is damn near similar, it fits the match card. It fits the entire idea of what you're trying to do. So I think last ditch effort, it will end up being Seth versus Brock Lesnar if they can't figure out something else. But the possibility of Oba and Brock is still on the table, in my opinion. And honestly, the only reason I believe that is solely because of how they were talking about the kid yesterday and what we can see brewing out of this. One little caveat, though, that I saw that I wanted to get your thoughts on too before we take our break. There was a promo in yesterday's show between Javon Evans and Kofi Kingston. And again, for those of you who aren't long-term wrestling fans, Kofi did have a come up that was very much like Javon Evans's, although Vince McMahon made him use a fake Jamaican accent for the first couple years of his career. But the come up in terms of the fan favoritism, the way they wrestle, it is very, very similar. And we finally got a confrontation between the two where essentially Kofi looked at him and said, dude, I see all the stuff that was for me. It's all in you and then some. But the interesting part to this was the way he treated Grayson Waller at the beginning.
Get out of here.
Exactly. He sat there and said, why are you talking? Go away. Let me talk to this kid. Makes me believe that we're probably going to be seeing a crossover between Javon Evans and the New Day, probably a little bit of a feud here and there. I'm hoping and praying this also means that we're going to see some sort of a appearance from a Royce Keys, because you can throw him into this storyline as well, either as a tag team partner for Javon, or on the opposite end, he could become the new Big E for the New Day. But I think this is going to be an interesting storyline for a young Javon Evans, who we've talked about on this show for a long time. He's an up-and-coming guy. He's definitely going to be a world champion at some point in his career. Do you think that this is essentially the start of the WWE giving him the rub, saying, hey, we see a lot of this guy in you, but we want to put the rocket to your back well before anyone actually strapped to Kofi's, thus making your career so much better?
I think it'd be a perfect fit for him to join.
Yeah, that was the other thought that I had as well.
He's so hyphy and jumping around, and I think he'd be perfect for those guys.
You would have to flip them back to face, though, because Javon, I mean, I can't see Javon Evans as a heel. I just can't. Or at least not right now in his career. Eventually we will, because that's just how wrestling works. But as of right now, this guy is too beloved by young kids. I mean, he is the Gen Z wrestler. He really is. So, like, all these kids really connect with him.
I think he's the only one that can bring them back to be, crowd favorites again.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're going to have to go through something to actually, they're going to have to make up for what they did to Big E, because the fan base ain't going to just let that go. Wrestling fans are fickle, and we could sit there and say, oh, it's just part of a storyline. It was just to get them to the heel side. Nah, they want retribution. You have to at least pay for that, either through blood or through some sort of miraculous action that makes us just forgive you. And the only way you're going to do that is if you save Big E from something crazy. Let's be honest. So unless they got Royce Keys running after Big E and Kofi steps in and
I could see like maybe something like Grayson does something crazy to Evans, and then they set up that, and Kofi comes out and helps him.
That I can see. And then we split the New Day finally, because I think that was on the table when this entire thing started.
That would make sense too. And then just tag them up with each other.
Right. And have Kofi and Javon against
look at that.
Xavier and Grayson.
Look at us.
Look at us, man. Look at us just spitballing ideas for the WWE, who is, they've got an open seat in that writing room. I'm just saying.
KG be happy.
KG would very much be happy with that, but we can't really speak for him. He's got to speak for himself.
We'll just be happy if we replace the writing.
No kidding. I can't wait to talk to him about that next week too, because obviously we haven't gotten a chance to sit down and talk to him about Road Dogg leaving and this entire situation going on in the writing room. He's been very vocal about not liking what the product has been putting out there. I mean, I disagree to a point. I know that it's not the best that we've ever gotten, but it's not the worst. I mean, I sat there and watched all of the COVID era stuff, and trust me, that was that was way worse.
My last question was going to ask you is Bailey and AJ.
This is going to be a fantastic match, to be honest with you. I don't think AJ loses that belt, though. I think they have plans for a lot of other stars, especially heels, that are going to get their shot at this. Plus, I'm telling you right now, AJ Lee against Roxanne Perez is going to be one of the biggest draws of any women's match, mid card or otherwise. I know it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like it, but trust me, when it comes to the history between these two, the work they've done with each other outside of outside of a television shown ring, these two know each other better than any other wrestler, and they could give us one of the best matches of the year when she comes back and is fully healthy. So I expect that we get AJ versus Bailey at Mania. Probably Becky gets involved at some point, I would assume, and we'll get a little bit of a storyline there. But eventually down the line, we're going to be seeing AJ Lee against Roxanne Perez, and that's when that belt is going to be taken
It's
off
like
of her.
the Kabuki Warriors walking in and seeing Io in the back.
Yeah,
Like, all right,
exactly.
they're just seasoning
Yeah.
it.
And right now, with Io Sky having no real avenue towards WrestleMania, that's also on the ledger here. Maybe we get that Io Asuka match that you've been talking about for weeks that could potentially end that storyline finally forever. Let Asuka go off and do what she's going to do because she's a fantastic solo wrestler. And you finally get the Kabuki Warriors back. And maybe even a faction between Rhea and the Kabuki Warriors. It could happen. You never know. This is the WWE. They like to mix all this stuff up, throw spaghetti against the wall, and see what actually sticks. So we're just doing our best to let you know what happens in that area. Let's take a break. We'll get into some other stuff on the other side before our guy Ryan Holt gets in here and talk all things Condors. They got the Texas Stars coming up this week out there in, oh Lord, I know it's not Dallas. I can't remember exactly where the Stars play, but I'll let you know on the other side of the break. We have plenty to talk about. Plus, like Sparky said, unfortunately, our Condors have slid to the 4th spot in the Pacific Division, but do not fret. We still have a solid 5-6 point lead over Coachella Valley, and we're only 2 points away from taking that 3rd spot back from San Jose. And I'm telling you right now, I still see gold. I still see a cup in the future. So if you're here in Bakersfield and you love hockey, you need to get down there. There are only a handful of home games left in the season, and we need everybody, and I mean everybody, in that arena when it's playoff time, because when it is rocking in Dignity Health, ain't nobody beating the Condors. I'm going to tell you that right now. Let's take a break. We'll get into a whole bunch of other stuff on the other side before Ryan Holt joins us. This is the Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk. Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. Before we shift over to your Bakersfield Condors, we have two moves in the NFL real quick that we can shout out. The Giants have added Newsome II to a one-year, $10 million deal, filling a quarterback need that they needed. And the Packers have also signed a corner. Benjamin St. Juste will also be signing with the Packers on a two-year, $10 million deal. Both teams obviously needing some sort of help in the secondary. Hopefully this will help them. But now we got to shift over to some hockey as your Bakersfield Condors get set to take on the the Texas Stars this week in Texas. And to talk about that and much, much more is our friend Ryan Holt. Sir, good to hear from you.
Hey, guys, I wish we were going to Dallas, but we'll just have to settle for Central Texas, right in the middle of it all in Cedar Park, Austin, Texas.
So we don't normally play a lot of people outside of the Pacific Division. What can we expect from this Texas team?
Yeah, it's interesting to jump out of the division and especially jump out of the division this late. So
right.
We're going to see Texas 4 times here. They're going to come to us in 2 weeks. So, a little bit of an interesting dynamic, obviously. Stepping out of the division, seeing a team we haven't seen all year.
Mm-hmm.
Texas early on this year, they got off to a terrible start. They're a team with a great history. They've been one of the top teams in that Central Division for a long time. Grand Rapids and Chicago have been, really good, historically. They've won a couple Calder Cups here, in the last 10 years. And, this is a group that, much like the Condors and much like, the Colorado Eagles with the Avalanche, 3 teams who, have NHL clubs with Stanley Cup aspirations. So, they've had to trade a lot of draft picks. The Stars have done it by bringing in some youth, much like the Condors, and should be an entertaining series. It's always high-scoring games. It feels like with Texas, they've always got a good offense. It feels like, and it's fun to step out of the division. It's fun to see some different teams, some different jerseys. Right. I mean, just a fan in us, just enjoy seeing a different team.
Oh, I'm excited to see these guys next week when they come here. But at this point, I mean, this is a long road trip for you guys in terms of just distance. How has the team kind of dealt with that? I mean, do you guys normally have a protocol for this kind of a thing? Do you leave early just so the guys can get acclimated to the different time? Like, how does it really change for you guys having to go from California to Texas?
Yeah, we're kind of used to it, with Calgary and Abbotsford obviously isn't, a time change, but just, from traveling all the way up there and so we'll leave Thursday and, we'll get in, fairly late, kind of dinner time, into Cedar Park. We'll go from LAX to Austin and then, Cedar Park's basically, 20 minutes outside the city of Austin. So, we'll get settled in around dinner. Guys will get a nice dinner, and then we'll do a full team skate in the morning, which we usually don't do on a game day, but we will do because we won't be able to practice on Thursday. So the guys will get out for a full skate in the morning just to, kind of get their bearings about them. And then, Friday, Saturday play, and then right back on the plane Sunday morning. So the guys are used to it. It's, nature of the beast. And, what I found is sometimes when, you don't have enough time, to kind of settle in, it kind of focuses you a little bit more. So we found that even going to Colorado where, we'll just get in around dinner time, have dinner, play 2 games, get out of the plane and get back out of there. So, would expect a pretty good series. Texas is playing well. They just swept Chicago last weekend. So, we're definitely getting them at their best here going into the weekend.
Well, hopefully you guys can get some Texas barbecue.
No kidding.
Absolutely. A couple Shiner Bars too are definitely on my menu.
Of course. Well, the Condors have been really competitive all season and sitting in a solid spot in the standings. We talked about that the last few weeks, but from what you've seen lately, how is the team playing right now compared to earlier in the season?
Yeah, we're right in the mix, right? The top 4 teams, us, San Jose, Colorado, Ontario. None of them seem to be losing, right? Like the the teams at the top, those top 4 teams, the only teams they lose to are each other, right?
Right.
You know, the only team it feels like we lose to is Ontario or Colorado comes in. But other than that, you know, the 4 teams at the top have kind of separated themselves. Coachella Valley's kind of hanging around, but you know, I think when you look at it, those are the 4 teams that are going to be there in the end, and you know, it's going to make for an entertaining playoff. It's going to make for an entertaining, you know, stretch run here. And you know, listen, this is you know, this is why the AHL exists, is to, you know, get guys like Howard and Hudson and Mariala and Szymanski and, you know, all of these young prospects, get them in meaningful games, high stakes games down the stretch that, you know, mean something, right? So that when they get put in a situation in Edmonton, you know, and they will, you know, that they already have that kind of experience to fall back on. And I think it's great for these guys. It's great to have, you know, as competitive a division as we do this year, and, you know, 15 or so games left in the regular season, and, you know, hopefully a strong finish to the regular season and building that momentum, you know, going into the playoffs, because, you know, this team, you know, deserves it. We talked about, you know, the trade deadline coming and going, and, you know, the team kind of being unscathed. And I think that's a testament to the group that's here, because I don't think Oilers management wanted to break anything up too much. And, you know, as a result, you have your group that you started the year with, and you can kind of go to battle with them for the rest of the year and see how long we can drag this season out for.
Well, I saw that we dropped from 4th or from 3rd to 4th. We're only a couple points out of the 3rd slot. But what do the Condors need to do over the next few weeks to make sure they stay in that position for the playoffs?
Yeah, and it's just games played, right? You know, we you know, we've played a few more games than some other teams, so some other teams are catching up, which has a double-edged sword, right? As we saw, you know, sometimes when you play too many games, you know, in a condensed schedule, it's not as beneficial for you. So we've kind of already gone through the grunt of our schedule, and now it's, you know, basically just in terms of travel, or basically in terms of games played. You know, we have it pretty easy the rest of the way, just in terms of playing Fridays and Saturdays, you know, here down the stretch. So, you know, I think for the Condors, it's, you know, it's about collecting points against teams you should collect points against. You know, we're going to see, you know, Calgary and San Diego next week, and, you know, Texas, they've been better of late, but this is a Texas team that, you know, if you had odds, you know, the Condors would be favored in these games. And, you know, it's what you do against those teams that are going to determine, you know, kind of your fate moving forward. Colorado lost to Abbotsford over the weekend. So, you know, as much as, you know, other teams have kind of jumped up and, you know, kind of jockeyed for position, you know, the Condors are, you know, I think 4 points out of second, which is crazy, you know, so that's 2 wins really. And I think for, you know, for Bakersfield, you know, we're going to be right there in the end of it. You know, it's going to be a flip the coin, you know, with those top 4 teams, where we end up, you know, landing 1 through 4. And, you know, then I think when the playoffs start happening, you know, those 4 teams are going to be the ones that battle it out in the end.
I agree. But when it comes to the last month of the season, I know we end the entire season with San Jose. Do you think those last 2 games are going to be that pivotal for us to make a playoff spot, or do you expect us to kind of be locked up by that time?
Yeah, I think we'll be locked up by that time. I think that could factor into, you know, a home ice advantage in a later round. You know, when you get to the Final Four, if you're in the top 2, you'll get, you know, the home ice advantage for, you know, for the next round. But, you know, I think, you know, this Condors team has proven that, you know, we're a pretty good team no matter where we play, and we're a pretty good team no matter who we're playing as well. You know, so I think for the Condors, it's really about, you know, how, you know, this group is going to play down the stretch. We'll probably add some pieces from college and from the junior ranks here over the next couple of weeks and give them a look, and maybe one of those guys pops here down the stretch too. So I think, you know, for the Condors, it's about finishing the season strong. It's about the young players getting an opportunity to, you know, play in really meaningful, high stakes, high intensity type games, which you're going to see down the stretch, whether you're playing, you know, a team like Colorado who you're battling against, or whether you're playing a team like a Tucson or a Henderson who, as we saw this past weekend, you know, they're battling to get into the playoffs. So they're desperate. They're playing, you know, you know, for their playoff lives every night. So I think, you know, if you're the Condors, you're getting both ends of the sword here in terms of, you know, just how good, you know, these games are down the stretch. And I think it's really awesome for this group to be able to go through it.
Before we let you go, because I know you're incredibly busy, you've already mentioned it. The trade deadline is now come and gone. How does the team feel now? Is everyone kind of settled down a little bit with knowing that everybody's just going to be staying here? And like you said, maybe you throw in a couple more college kids to help out the team, but for the most part, they're going to be building with each other.
Yeah, I think it's big. I really do. I thought that the kind of the weeks leading up to it, and guys have, social media as anybody does, and, can read all of the random trade proposals that, people might be throwing out. And I think, for them, they want to be here. And I think part of it is pride too, right? They have a pride in this organization, and they have a pride for this team, and they've come this far, right? So it would have been, and we've seen in the past where, teams have been broken up at the trade deadline at the AHL level because they need to help the NHL club. And, that's the end goal, right, is to win the Stanley Cup. But
right.
I think for this Condors group to be able to stick together, to go on a run, I think it's big for guys. I really do. We've seen, guys at the AHL level go on long runs, whether it be with the Hershey Bears or Coachella Valley or Texas and the Colorado Eagles. These teams have gone on long runs, and it's benefited the NHL club from having that experience already, when those guys do end up graduating to the NHL full time. So it's very beneficial. Winning's fun. It's fun to come to the rink, and this team's done a lot of winning. So it's good to keep the guys together here down the stretch to know that, this is the group that is going to play the final game together, whether that's, in round one or in the Calder Cup final.
It's that time of the year, man. Condors are playing good hockey. Plus, I believe next weekend is Star Wars night.
Absolutely. First 2,000 fans get a light sword. We can't call them lightsabers, so they're light swords.
We all know what they are.
Yeah, we'll have those next Saturday. We'll have members of the 501 Legion in attendance. So all your droids and Chewbacca's and Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and all of them will be in town. And then we'll also wear specialty jerseys. I think we're droids this year too, so we'll kind of unveil those. They're orange. And, they've got. I'm showing my Star Wars incompetence, but I'm told it's BB-8 on the front.
You're good.
Of the jersey. So all right.
All you gotta do is save droid, and everybody's in.
You're not the only one.
Droid jerseys next Saturday as well too to auction off.
I could take a whole show and educate both of you on Star Wars if I needed to, but we're not going to go that far.
It's funny, and I always tell our folks, and this is behind the curtain, but I always tell our folks, when you're marketing, you're not going to have. Every game or every promotion that you do is something that you're entirely passionate about.
Right.
And I've always told my old boss, Kevin Bartle, who's a huge Star Wars guy.
Yep.
I've never seen a Star Wars. I can tell you enough to sell it because I know what it means, for the Condors organization and for this community and, the fun that kids have and the fun that adults have. So I can certainly appreciate that. And, I leave it up to the experts. So we enlisted the help of Don Mascola, who's our former creative designer. He works for the Diamondbacks now. He's a huge Star Wars guy, so he designed the jersey. I don't even touch the jersey. I just say, Dom, tell me 5 things I need to know about this jersey and know about Star Wars for the night.
That is awesome. Any chance I can get one of those jerseys? I need a new Star Wars jersey.
I'm going to find one coming off the truck for you. You know what? I can make that happen.
Awesome.
I'm going to find one coming off the truck for you.
Well, get your tickets, man, because it'll be a busy night. I know my birthday is coming up on the 27th. That's emo night. So there's some awesome promotions. Plus, we're playing good hockey.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, I see a cup in the future. Whether it's a Stanley or a Calder, I don't know which one yet, but I see a cup in the future.
Let's hope. Yeah, we're just battling through, and 3 great promotions coming up. We got Bluey Night at the end of the month too, on the 28th. So,
let's go. See, you're already
we got something
selling
for everybody.
Me,
so whether you're Star Wars, whether you're emo, we got 2000s, which we're calling 2000s Retro Night, by the way, which made me feel really old.
Right? No kidding.
Yeah, if we're going back to 2005 and we're calling it retro, but okay.
I had a friend of mine look at me and say that my playlist is all divorced dad rock. And I said, excuse me? It's like, I don't know if I'm okay with that at all. But sir, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk next week. Take care.
Let's take a break real quick. We'll get into all the last stories that we can get to it on the other side. I know there's a couple NFL signings that probably took place while we were talking to our guy Holty. This is the early bird special right here on KGEO Sports Talk.
Welcome back. Final segment of the day right here on KGEO Sports Talk, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. Thank you guys for joining us. I want to thank Ryan Holt as well from the Bakersfield Condors. The only signing in the NFL so far, besides the ones we already told you right before Holty, was the Buffalo Bills have decided to bring back Dawson Knox on a 3-year contract. No info on how much he will be making in that 3 years at the moment, though. So Buffalo just decided that they just want tight ends instead of wide receivers is essentially what I'm saying, because they didn't get Mike Evans. You haven't signed any of the big names at wide receiver. You didn't make a play for Michael Pittman.
They're waiting on Diggs.
Because that worked out so well the first time.
No, we had a listener text in, and I figured you'd like this one.
What's up?
It said, "I'm catching on to this Danhausen."
Oh, Danhausen.
And he wants to understand why he why he gave Michael Cole a jar of teeth.
So the teeth thing, I still haven't necessarily figured out my damn self. It's just part of the character. He's just a guy who literally walks around with teeth. If you look at some of the stuff like on his cape, like they're teeth related. I think it has to do with like vampires. I think that's the entire idea. But again, this guy is not really meant to be taken literally. This is definitely a joke character. Everything you're going to be seeing from this guy for the next couple months is just going to be him coming in, being a goofball like Ray or like R-Truth, and just pointing at people saying, "You are cursed." And then something crazy happens.
I saw he came out at Raw last night and just passed out a bunch of shirts. And
I saw
told
that
him
too.
to keep selling them.
Absolutely. I wish I was in line because I would have loved to have gotten a brand new Danhausen shirt, which looks awesome, by the way. I love the design. But yeah, no, I mean, he's just a fan favorite wrestler. That's all it's really going to be. The teeth thing, it's just part of his finisher. His finisher is called the Good Nighthausen, I believe is what it's actually called, which is a GTS, basically what CM Punk does, a go to sleep, but with teeth. I don't know exactly how the teeth get incorporated. It's different every single time, but that's kind of the whole thing. He's just a oddball wrestler, and it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, he is obviously going around saying, "I'm going to have this title and this title and this title." It's like,
yeah, I know he's pushing to get his logo on the sphere.
Yep, absolutely.
In Vegas,
which I think they most likely will do, if I'm being completely honest with you, because he is that big of a draw that at some point the WWE will slip in a Danhausen thing there at some point. I'm not sure exactly when.
Probably WrestleMania week.
I'm just excited to see what happens with this entire character because, again, it's one of those guys that AEW fumbled, and WWE has done a very good job at taking those athletes and making them pretty big names on their product, and vice versa. To be fair, AEW has done great with guys like Tommaso Ciampa and pretty much rebuilding their careers. But Danhausen is just going to be one of those joke characters that, trust me, by this time next year, everybody's going to be laughing and talking about this guy as one of the funniest things about the show. And that's pretty much all they're trying to do right now is just create more humor on the show.
And to follow up, SGA, he tied Wilt.
He's going to break it. I mean, I said
plays,
it yesterday.
I believe he plays Boston Thursday. That's his next game.
And trust me, he'll find a way to score 20 points on Boston. And
128 consecutive games with 20-plus points.
126, 128. 128. The record is so crazy, too.
It is nuts.
The thought that nobody has been able to stretch out a 20-point per game streak this long outside of him and Wilt Chamberlain is just wild to me, because you think of all the incredible scorers that have played in the NBA. I mean, we talked about Kevin Durant, who is on this list once. Michael Jordan's on there twice. Elgin Baylor. I mean, just think about it. Kobe Bryant's not even on this list. LeBron's not on this list. Like, it's got to go down as one of the most impressive things that's going to help encapsulate SGA's career, in my opinion, and make him, again, like I said yesterday, the greatest Canadian-born basketball player of all time. I know it's probably far-fetched for me to say right now because he's got plenty of time left in his career, and God only knows, who comes in from Canada by that time. But I'd be willing to bet by the end of his career, and we're only 8 years in, and I say only because he could play another 8 to 10 if he wanted to, we could be talking about SGA in the same area as guys like Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan. And I know that's blasphemous to most basketball fans because anytime you put Michael's name next to anybody else's, it's blasphemy. But when you really sit there and think about it, SGA plays the game very similarly to the way they did, and he's doing things that they didn't do.
And the U.S. beat Mexico. I was going to ask you, what the hell happened with Cal?
But, so everybody's getting mad at Cal Raleigh because he's refusing to shake hands with teammates or players from the MLB. But I'm with him. We aren't here to make friends. This is like the Olympics, brother. It's just like, Ted Lasso actually made a very good comparison to this. When you play for a team and you're playing together, you're brothers. When you're playing against each other, especially when the nation is the one that's across your chest, we ain't homies, brother. We're playing against each other. What do you
wait till after the game?
Like Randy Arozarena went to the media pissed about it, as if it was insulting to him. And I looked at him and said, Randy, you're in the World Baseball Classic. America has been very vocal about saying, this is our year. We're going to win this, and we don't care who we have to run through. And by the way, before we get out of here, and I know I have little time, for the manager of Mexico to sit there and say that he would love to face America again and be in the finals with them, you got lucky last night. Let's not get crazy. We still won 5-3. You're nowhere close. We got to get out of here. We'll be back on Thursday. We're going to be dark tomorrow, so join us Thursday, 7 to 9. Sparky, let's get out of here.